Welcome everybody to my third vlog from Zero to Hero, the journal of a traveling poker player. In this video we talk about the poker scene in Namur, analyze two hands with GTO Wizard I played there, and I share some insights from my coaching. Let's go! After 3 weeks break, visiting friends and family, we are back on track and ready to grind for the next 2 months. Of course, we played some poker during those weeks and we went for a weekend trip to Namur, which I'm gonna show you now. Namur is a city in Wallonie, Belgium, famous for its rich history and also known for its poker scene. The Circus Casino is located at the river Namur, and you find some cheap rentals around. They also have a hotel in the casino, which is apparently very nice, and maybe it's worth to pay a little bit more to stay there during a poker week. The casino was renovated the last years and became one of the biggest poker rooms in Europe. They host a lot of tournament series and daily cash games. Here you see which games they have and their graduated rake system with €15 cap, which is very reasonable. Now I'm gonna show you two hands I played in Namur on a 255 table, and we start with the queens in the small blind. We have an open from the low jack. Button calls, I 3-bet to 80, which could be a little bit more, but I think it's fine. We got a call from the low jack, and the flop is ace king jack double tone. We decide to c-bet small because it fits pretty well my range. I suppose when you have a strong ace or two pair, he should raise it, but he decides to flat. So on the turn we got not flush draw and still a gutter. So we decide to bet big, nearly pot. I think he should fold most of his hands here, but he decides to call. So I guess he has a weak ace, maybe with a heart, and we get lucky on the river with a nut flush, and we jam, and unfortunately he folds. So let's analyze this with GTO. So here you can see we use the new GTO function where you can customize the bet sizing, everything, the stack, the pot size. So as you can see here, we have 137 big blinds. We are in a 3-bet pot with 37 big blinds. And let's see, we go to the ace king jack flop, and we have two options to bet. I choose the small one. As you can see, we bet this hand pretty often. With the small bet, we have the highest EV with 13.71 big blinds. GTO suggests a bigger bet most of the time, but small bet and checking is okay too. So we c-bet and he decides to call. Here we can see his range, which he should call. So he has a couple of ace X, sometimes kings. I block the queens, sometimes jacks. He can have a set there, but he's supposed to raise jacks, I guess. Queen 10 is possible too, but I block also the queens there, so he doesn't have so many combos left, but he still decided to call. On the turn I decide to go for a bigger bet, nearly pot. So the EV is pretty same for all actions. A small bet or check would have been also okay. We are going to the river for hearts, where we river the nuts, and of course we just have one option here and get it all in, hoping he finds a call with any heart, but he folded this hand. So in general I think this hand was played well. If we have an other turn where my hand doesn't improve, I give it up. I check fold it. Yeah, for the rest I think this hand was played pretty well. And then let's go to the second hand. We have ace king on the button. We have open from the cutoff 2.5 big blinds, which is pretty low on like cash game for an open, but maybe shows that he's a studied player and opens 2.5 big blinds. His range should be very wide in this position, so I 3-bet to 40 and we get a monotone king high board. So the cutoff checks and I decide to check behind, which is a mistake. I should probably bet small every time on monotone boards in position, but for some reason I decided to slow play this hand and get it cheap to a showdown. So the turn is a 10 of diamonds and he checks again. So the 10 of diamonds fits his range pretty well, I would say. This time the check behind is more reasonable and we go to the river, which is a 9 of diamond, and he bets nearly half pot and we have an easy call, and he got lucky on the river where he hit 2 pairs. So let's see what GTO says about this hand. So we configured the hand before 180 effective stack, and pre-flop we have 17.5 big blinds in the pot and we get the monotone board. So cutoff is supposed to check or nearly he's completely range, and I should always bet my entire range. Always go for a small bet on a monotone board, which I in theory know, but yeah, I sometimes just don't apply it, which should be a lesson, and I hope not to do the same mistake on the next time. So we are getting to the turn, which is a 10 of diamond. He checks again. So here it shows that betting and checking are both okay. Like with my hand, I should bet more often on the turn, but we have a higher EV by checking. 11.82 big blinds for bet and 11.86 big blinds for a check. So and then we get to the river. He decides to bet small or half pot or something like that, and we have an easy call here. But we always have to call it down. The mistake on this hand was not betting the flop, and I think I could take it down by checking the flop and the turn, but I think as played it's okay. Now we have a GTO Wizard subscription, and I will analyze more my hands I played and try to find my leaks and to improve for my next sessions. For the last part, I'm gonna show you some insights of my coaching with Adam Carmichael, who coaches a couple of high stakes poker players and is well known in the coaching scene. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun and see you in the next video. I think that I have to go to play.
Yeah, okay.
It's like
quite forceful, like it's not got to do this. Yeah, so first of all, like even just from that one sentence, it's really hard to be motivated when we feel like we must do something. We have to do something. As humans, we don't really respond well to that. We like autonomy. We like to decide what we're doing for our own reasons. So every time I say myself, like that little alarm bell goes off, I have to do this. It's a good time to stop and reflect and go, wait a second, like I don't have to do this at all. So why do you feel like you have to do it? Why do you feel like you have to go? What stops you saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm fine. Why do you have to go?
Because I want to proceed.
Yeah. Okay, so one's better than have, right? So, for example, if I have to do something, that means there's no real choice. If I want to, that's coming from like a desire or a drive. So when you want to, why do you want to go there? So you said to proceed towards what? What are you trying to proceed towards?
Yeah, that's like something which I'm missing, like having a vision to where I want to go.
Exactly, right? So the whole system breaks down, right, when there's no end destination. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ourselves to take action in the moment, often doing hard things, thinking, studying, showing up, putting long hours in, and we're hoping that the effort we're putting in will get us to a meaningful goal, an outcome that we care about. If we remove that outcome, the goal just drifts out of view. Now all of a sudden we're trying to get ourselves to do something just to do it. And then we start using kind of terminology like, I must do this, I have to do this. We start trying to use willpower and discipline. And all of a sudden, this thing that we love doing, that was really motivating and exciting, now we're like, I don't even really know if I want to do this anymore. So we lose sight of it. So I think the best place to start this coaching with you is to get back alignment with why you're doing this. What's this part of your journey about? And although it's somewhat obvious in some degrees that we're trying to make money, we're trying to progress, it changes as you go through your career, and you have made different goals and objectives than you had even a year ago. Can you remember that time, how it felt day to day when you had a clear vision? Did things feel different to what they do now?
Yeah, for sure. But at the end, as I saw that it's much harder to make a lot of money out of poker than I thought. I got frustrated that it won't work. Let's say, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the motivation towards the goal. Then life hits you with the obstacles that are in the way, and sometimes it's a lot harder than we thought. So we're now trying to get ourselves to go past those obstacles, or we decide, oh, wait a second, maybe I need to change my goals, change my plans. But it's still there's a drive to achieve something, and then there's action towards that outcome. So right now we really need to spend some time on what are you wanting to achieve, because this is everything. This is like the whole thing. There's no direction. It's almost like being in a car, right? And you sat there and you don't decide where you want to go, and you start driving. And then you're trying to optimize, right? I need to drive better. I just need to do this driving thing better. And you're just driving and driving. But if you don't know where you're going, you can't optimize. Like you're just going in a direction. As soon as you know a direction, you start to go, okay, if that's the goal, this is what we need to take. Now, the goal doesn't need to be an outcome. It can be to feel a better version of yourself. It can be to wake up in the morning happy, content in yourself. It doesn't have to be necessarily an outcome as such, but there needs to be some purpose to what you do. If not, it's really, well, you basically can't optimize. So for you, how can we start to unpack what you want or what you're edging towards? Is there anything that you can think of that you're trying to create, would like in the future? Anything that you can, an inkling that this could excite me, this could be a fun path? Like, why for you, for example, poker now, why don't you just quit altogether and get a job again? Why does it matter? Why do you still do poker? Poker's hard. Poker's a tough thing to do. There's no easy rides there. So what makes you show up and be a poker player? Why do you feel like that's important to you?
To have the freedom to travel and decide what times I work.
Okay, so freedom is important. Okay.
It's always such a roller coaster. Then I have a peak of motivation, and then it goes down, and then I struggle for a couple of months, and then I restart. And like since we started, I think, how long is it? 3 years, 4 years?
Most likely 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like always the same emotional pattern I'm going through. Like it's always a roller coaster. I don't have a consistency. I took also coaching with Stephen Baker. You know him?
Is he one of Elliot Rowe's hypnotherapists?
Yeah. And also same. So we try to get a consistency, also with hypnosis, which worked well at the beginning, and then it just came like the same again, and I'm not motivated, and stopping the routines, and and everything was scheduled. Like my weeks were scheduled. He even, so we shared a calendar, and he interacted also nearly daily, and yeah, but at some point it restarted. I restarted to get this level of motivation, and got lazy, and
yeah. Well, maybe we're approaching the problem. This is the problem. Maybe we're approaching it from the wrong angle. All right, so it's nice to believe that we'll get to a state where we're just always motivated. I get to this peak motivation and just keep that motivation. But as humans, that rarely happens. We have highs and lows. We have peak, oh, I feel really motivated, I'm really enthusiastic. And we have moments and days where we're like, don't feel like it today. That's like most humans go through that kind of ebbs and flows. I think for you, it just gets a little bit more magnified. It's almost like it's very polarizing. It's either you're very motivated, you're doing everything, or you just can't be bothered to do anything. It's this low motivation state. So for you, I think there's almost like an element of how do we, when you're in this low motivation state, how do we just not create a narrative around it? I think for you, maybe it's like almost like, oh, here we go again through another one of these cycles. When in reality, it's like, okay, well, it's fine to be lowly motivated. It's fine to be unsure what your goals are. It's fine to lack clarity. There's no big deal. It's not like, oh my God, why am I here again? But the main thing is, how do you pick yourself up again? I think a better skill for you, rather than how to have motivation 100% of the time, is how to create a toolkit for you that allows you to regain motivation again when you've lost it. So for you right now, for example, it's really, really obvious why you've lost motivation. You don't have a goal to strive towards. It's just, I can't even think of a world where you can be motivated every day without a purpose or a goal to work towards. Because if not, there's nothing to drive the system. There's no reason for your energy to be pushing you towards something, because there's no real objective to strive towards. So I think for you, maybe the goal is really to spot the patterns of what happens when you lack motivation, and then to create like how do you regain it again? All right, because I think life's more of an ebb and flow game. It's not like a static. It's like a push yourself, recover. It's not necessarily a all or nothing thing. So I think for you, let's just try and examine like when you've lost motivation. Yeah, that thing is a good impact. We'll look over when you've lost motivation in the past, like learning from the cycles, and then what have you generally done to get yourself going again? And then I think trying to create some form of kind of toolkit or a way of approaching low motivation moments so you can get back going again. For me, for example, if I lack motivation for a number of days to a week, I quickly re-examine what I'm doing. I take a zoomed out lens and go, what are you doing this for, Adam? What's it all about? What are your main goals? What are you working towards? Why does any of this matter? And I really get in tune with like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And if I can't answer that question, I stop for longer and go, right, well, I don't know. I'm lacking motivation. I don't even know what this is all about. And I need to go through a process of deciding what my values are, what I care about in life, what is worth my time and energy to achieve and try to move towards. And if I don't get that clear, I know I'm going to be stuck in a low motivation state because there's nothing to drive towards. So for you, I think we need to learn some lessons around what happens here and then figure out how to get better at getting back on the train, so to speak, and regaining motivation. It sounds like in general, you like being quite sociable, you like hanging out with people, having communication, but like I said, traveling's hard. You're around new people. It's a lot of the same kind of introductory chats, where you're from, what you do, like all these kind of small talk. But at the same time, you've got to almost get past those kind of small talk to have a deep conversation, or at least a meaningful conversation. And you've had this experience with the strategy coach, who is one being a bit harsh on you at times with stuff, but also like that doesn't sound like very good relationship was there overall in terms of how you feel. Relationship makes you happy anyway. So these things can almost give me sheltered under myself as well. And especially in my younger days, if I had a few like bad, let's say, social interactions, or I didn't feel like people understood me, or I was liked in a group, I would just close myself off more. I just wouldn't put myself out there, and I go very quiet. And I spent like weeks and sometimes months not really speaking with people, and that was just me protecting myself because I had a few I don't know, bad interactions, whatever. But that's like going against what makes me happy as well. Same as you. I get happiness by being around people, socializing with people, interacting. So I think sometimes if all things fail, like if you're ever lost, I always think like you've got to go back to what makes you happy. All right, because if you're a happy version of yourself, like this is just a different feeling internally. If you're lacking that happiness, you've got to really connect with it. All right, so one thing I'm going to give you after the session, we'll go through a values. Either I'll send you the link to go through it, or if I think it's better, we'll do it next session. But basically, I want you to get very, very clear on what your values are. All right. So I think everyone has 3 to 5 core values that they should live in alignment with. So I think freedom will be one for you. I think happiness, or some variation of happiness, will be one for you, and will be 3 others as well, which will come out from the exercise we do. And this is really good because this becomes like your North Star of the things that drive me to be a better version of myself. Obviously, happiness is one of them, but generally living in alignment with your values allows you to feel fulfilled, because you're like, if everything, it could be relationships, it could be health. For me, these are things that I value highly. And then the next thing you do, once you understand that, you go, okay, these are my values. What do I need to be doing on a daily and weekly basis to be in alignment with those values? And if there's a misalignment with this, these are my values, but I'm not doing any of the things that lead to those values. This is the internal conflict. It's almost like hard to even fathom what's going on, but generally you just went out of alignment with what makes you happy, what makes you feel like a good version of yourself. So I think a good starting point would be going, what are your values and how do we create some alignment with your values?